Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news and note smash-up video today, starting with Robert Garcia, the former trainer of Anthony Joshua, who has owned up to some comments that he made about Anthony Joshua and his performance in the rematch with Oleksandr Usyk. That was at the tail end of 2022. Initially, Garcia, who had spoken to a Spanish-language website, had distanced himself from the comments. But in a recent interview, and this is quoted by Boxing Scene, that Garcia has owned up to some of his comments, which were seen as taking a bit of a shot at Joshua. He says, just because I was his trainer doesn't mean I'm going to lie about his performance. I wasn't the only one that said that he should be mad and he should be frustrated with the whole world because mostly everybody said the same thing. When you have a fighter who does so good in one round that you almost stop your opponent, it does make a difference when the next round is totally opposite. So there was a lot to be said by so many boxing people, so many boxing experts, because I'm not the only one that said that. And then what happened after the fight when he grabbed the mic and all that, I think that was a lot of frustration. I think that had to do with maybe knowing that you were so close and you let it go. Maybe a little bit of embarrassment because the reaction wasn't the right reaction that a fighter usually takes. You don't see it that often. It just wasn't me saying he was frustrated and that he was a little ashamed by his performance. Make of it what you will. Certainly it was a performance that Joshua had some success in, but it wasn't enough. And obviously Oleksandr Usyk beat Anthony Joshua twice on the bounce. No longer trained by Robert Garcia, obviously. He's preparing for a fight on the 1st of April against Jermaine Franklin and his new trainer, Derek James, who's got him out chopping trees in Texas. So a couple of shots that Joshua has posted to his social media. Doesn't look to be enjoying it there, does he? But make of it what you will, whether this is actually going to do much for him. But yeah, obviously something a little bit different that he doesn't normally do in his UK training camps. The quest for undisputed still up in the air, but Oleksandr Usyk with a little light trolling of Tyson Fury, saying this will be like any other fight. It's just a big man who has never lost before against a man who has the WBC belt. And as we've been hearing, the date is reportedly going to be the 29th of April, although it's at risk. There's some deadlines that have been thrown out in public about let's get the deal made, otherwise it can't happen, etc. What we do know is that the fighters are training. Usyk here with a post from training camp on his Usyk 17 Promotions Instagram page. So these guys are obviously playing a little bit of chicken on the negotiating front, but they will be putting in every effort. And Usyk is training away, having a camp in preparation for a likely fight date. Whether that's April the 29th or something else, we shall see. Whether it happens at all, who knows? But I think both these guys, if they don't fight each other, it will be a huge shame. And probably there'll be interim opponents and maybe try to make it again. It's undisputed. Who knows what will happen? Argon Smakici, who was defeated by Agit Kabayel in Germany. This was a 3-round slugfest. And just see here, so this is posted from Smakici. This is when he had it on Kabayel in the second round, just winging away. Kabayel, just no defense, doesn't know how to defend himself, arms up, that's a concern. See, careens into the ropes. At that point, when he went into the ropes, it looked like the ref was stopping it, but he gave him an 8 count. So what we've got is Argon Smakici calling for a rematch, saying #rematch. And then he does ask the question, saved by the judge. And certainly Kabayel did benefit from that 8 count, getting some time to recover. Smakici probably feeling a little bit aggrieved because he just emptied the tank, had nothing left, and after that got battered by Kabayel, who came into the fight and stopped him in round 3. Argon Smakici could barely keep his hands up, could barely stand up, full stop. But what an exciting fight. Will he get a rematch? Of course not. Kabayel moves on, remains undefeated, and will be begging for a big payday with a high-profile boxer, despite not really doing anything to earn it in recent years. He's had one fight for 2023, so that's probably his lot for the year. One fight a year for each of the past 5 years. This year, if it continues with one, that'll make 6. The Polish heavyweight Damian Knyba is set to return on the 8th of April. That's already been confirmed, but he's been sparring with the American heavyweight prospect DeAndre Savage. And also Knyba more recently has been training with Zhang Zhilei as Zhilei prepares for his fight with Joe Joyce. And Sean George here, the trainer, is Zhang Zhilei's trainer. So who the opponent is for Knyba, still TBC, but he has teased in a post that it will be announced soon. Lucas Browne, he's been sparring with Faiga Opelu. Actually, Opelu and Browne fought just a couple of fights ago. Opelu put it all over Browne. Browne ultimately stopped them when Opelu gassed out. Browne preparing to face Jarrell Big Pharmacy Miller later this month. And also Faiga Opelu's got a fight coming up very soon too against fellow Australian rival Chris Tversky. So, yeah, getting some good work in, and I guess in Australia, with the level of competition and heavyweights, some of these guys, even though they fight each other, have to spar each other because it's some of the best sparring available just in the country. So good rounds for Lucas Browne. Thomas Carty says that the Carty party is heading to London, and we're going to take over York Hall. So he will be fighting on April the 22nd. He says, I'm back. So, not sure who he's going to be fighting or whether he's headlining that card. It says it's TM14 Promotions in association with Mark Pryor. So, interestingly, Thomas Carty, who had been managed by Dillian Whyte, and I'm not sure if that arrangement is still in place, with Whyte not having fought much recently, sort of seems some of the opportunities for some of those fighters he had been managing has just dried up just a little bit, Carty being one of those fighters. So whether this is just some sort of interim step before he gets on a televised show, either with DAZN or elsewhere, we shall see. But he says, no Carty, no party. It's catchy, but I'm not sure it's true at this point. The Canadian heavyweight Alexis Barriere, he will be back in the ring. This will be later this month. He's currently 8-0, coming off a good win against, I want to say Dylan Carmen, but it was actually Adam Braidwood. So that was towards the end of last year. He is facing a guy called Zamig Atakeshiev, who is 8-0-1. I had to just pronounce that a couple of times because I have never said the name before. So he's actually fought a couple of decent sort of journeymen. You've got Saul Farah on here, Herman Skobenko, and that was actually a draw. So there is some decent sort of journeymen on there. Another one, Semen Pakamov. So I mean, he might be okay. He's from Azerbaijan, 6'1", but actually Barriere, when I did see him last time out against Braidwood, he looked pretty good. He's one of these sort of guys that I think will be a sort of sleeper heavyweight that won't get too much buzz on the way up, but once he gets somewhere, he'll actually put incredible performances. I really haven't seen anything of Zamig Atakeshiev, so I can't really comment too much. Timothy Moten, he says that he can't wait to let Mayhem out again. And primarily I put this one in the video because this is a very cool photo. And you get Evgeny Romanov, the Russian heavyweight who was once well known for beating Deontay Wilder in the amateurs. He's back, but the opposition, not flash. He's facing Chris Thompson, South African former cruiserweight. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure what to make of Romanov's career at this point. There was one point where he was actually having some decent sort of build-up type fights. And there's that name, Herman Skobenko again. But, you know, he had Nascimento, Nguema, Carmen, Bracamonte, and this is when some of these guys had very few losses. But the last few years, it's really just been a bit of a wasteland. And what's he really doing? Where's he really going? He is 37 years old now, 17-0. Seemingly going nowhere fast, and that's a shame because he's got good skills, but I think probably at the tail end of his prime, if not at the end or past prime at this point. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.